Assalamu alaikum. How are you all today? I hope you are in the best of health. As usual, I'm going to continue reporting what I've found. As for today, we're going to look at the Malaysia cases first. The cases per day for Malaysia doesn't really look good, actually. I mean, it's not really going down. It's actually kind of moving sideways. This is a bit worrying. I think the trend is because probably people don't want to stay at home. More people still have to buy something outside, and in order for them to get something, they probably have to defy the rules. But the trend is not looking good, guys. So we really have to do something about this. We probably have to stay at home. Okay, stay at home. Initially, it looks good because staying at home has kind of slowing down the spread of the virus. So I suggest we try to do that from now on. Okay, as best as we can, so that we can celebrate the Eid al-Fitr in good spirit. As for Australia, now you can see it looks really like a canyon, isn't it? Grand Canyon. It's going down now. So the trend is very, very good for Australia, despite the fact that total cumulative cases is pretty high, but they managed to control it. So that's very good, Australia, well done. Comparing the Malaysian and Australia cumulative cases, we can see here that Australian has kind of tapered off and maybe it's moving downwards from now on. As for Malaysia, it's still moving on a straight line as if it's going to shoot somewhere into the sky. So we have to do something, guys. We really have to do something. Initially it looks good, but now it's a bit worrying. The case is always above 100. As for Australia, they've managed to bring it down below 100 per day. Okay, this is another trend line in log scale. You can see here that the Malaysia one is red line. It's moving, well, it's not moving downwards, it's moving sideways. And as for Australia, you can see that it's actually moving downwards. Right, I just want to recap what I've done. I was interested in looking at COVID virus cases in Malaysia, and then I think, why not if I compare it with Australia? As I did this, I started to use Excel to actually create a trend line. If the trend line can predict, about 10 days in advance, then why not if I just use the polynomial trend line, okay, to degree 5 or 6. And then I became interested in finding out how is it that people predict the cases in the future. Then I started to dig some information on the internet, and I found out there are some papers published on SIR model, and I come across several other models as well, such as SEIR, SIS, as well as logistics equation. Then I found a British paper published in MedRxiv. They predicted that the case in China is going to be 190,000, and that's going to be within 14 days of the date that they've got the case. So that happened to be on the 4th of February. So I followed the model and I tried it. I used their figures, which they used for Wuhan case. I then plugged the figure into the SIR model that I built in the Excel. It turned out to be almost the same, within 3% margin of error. I then became interested in finding out why not if I apply this equation to Malaysia. I assume that the whole population of Malaysia is susceptible. So when I did that, I found out that for a susceptible population of 32.3 million, the result turned out to be an estimate about 15 million of Malaysian population are going to be infected. And I thought, my God, there's going to be a lot. And then I found this report by JP Morgan that predicted that the population of Malaysia, about 6,300 people, are going to be infected. That's the max. So then I became interested in finding out how is it that JP Morgan can predict with such a low figure compared to SIR model that I have used. So I just want to find out more about this. I studied about the significance of the variables in the SIR model. Then by that time, the Director General from Ministry of Health of Malaysia has identified hotspots in Malaysia. So I zoom into these hotspots and I calculated the total number of population, and it is about 12 million. Then when I plug in the figures, I still think that the figure is pretty high. So I keep reducing the number of susceptible population, and I'm still not satisfied with this. So I keep going and I keep doing my research. I found out some of the papers published by some scientists around the world, and I found this paper submitted by a Colombian engineer, Carlos de Castro, via Cornell University. He published in archive.org, arxiv.org. He actually found out that his figure is really high when he used the data from China, South Korea. He even uses Colombian data. So I think perhaps SIR model is too simple to predict the number of infected cases. Now I'm interested in looking at how JP Morgan came across their figures. I do some digging and I found out that the equation used by JP Morgan is actually exponential. But when I look at the equation, it looks like this a bit too simplistic. It's nothing like SIR at all. And I'm going to show you here. Is this equation reliable? I couldn't find this equation at all being used by people, by scientists or epidemiologists. So I'm not sure whether JP Morgan's figure is actually the right way to do it. Looking at JP Morgan's work, I thought, why not we just use the polynomial of degree 6, which can also do some prediction, right? In the meantime, I'll just keep searching for more information. Anyway, that's the story. I'm going to explain more in the next video. Thank you for watching.